To episode 215 of NoCoders Office Hours, where you can bring your Bubble questions, bugs, feature requests, anything about Bubble, any topic about Bubble, and we will discuss them. If you would like to join us in Office Hours, what it is our members come to our Zoom 6 times per week and can ask us anything. And in order to be a member, you have to go to pronocoders.com and sign up. In addition to having access to office hours, our developer members get access to the vault. They get access to our private community, which whether that's going to be on Slack or Discord is up in the air at the moment. They get access to discounted one-on-one sessions with amazing bubblers like Cameron, who's going to be leading our office hours today, and more. So if you would like to join us, please go sign up at pronocoders.com right now. So we can get to know you, we can get to know what you're building, and we can help you out. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm here with members Thomas, Ben, and Nathan today. Nathan, you want to get us started with your first question?
Sure. It's a question, a specific question that really is a bigger project. But I'm ready to tackle, how do I give access to front end users to some report information, an export of report information. So if we have a list of sales, and I'm a front end user that has the right permissions, how do I export a list of sales, but also give me some requirements of like a date range or a specific type of sale, or maybe a salesperson from a drop-down list, things like that. I understand the concept of how to build that request, but then what I don't know is, how do I get that request in an export that I can then use, whether that's Excel or CSV or Google Sheets, that I can then pull up into a spreadsheet application. What I've tried to use in the past, it seems like it always is coming across with Bubble user IDs, which isn't helpful. So I want a user-friendly front-end access, and not have to worry about the back-end database from Bubble. This is for a front-end user. And I just haven't found any good examples of how to do that, and that's where I'm stuck.
Sure. All right. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly, because it sounds pretty straightforward. You want to have a certain data query, so sales reports between a certain date or whatever, and you want your front-end users to be able to access this. Do you want them to be able to access this? Do you want this to be emailed to them? What's the actual flow? And that might not be the most important, because really it sounds like we just want to be able to have these individuals access the data. But what do you envision?
Well, I'm probably most used to when I hit export, a file's created, in the bottom tray. I think that would work. If I need to take it from there and then move it into email them, I assume that would be just an extra step in a workflow. But I'm completely fine with, when I hit export, that file is generated, in the bottom tray and accessed just kind of like most other exports that I guess I use personally.
Yeah, sure. There's a couple different things. I've used AirDev's tool. It's a CSV you can download from a repeating group. So I'm not sure if you've explored that plugin, but what you're able to do with that plugin in particular is you're able to set the data of that repeating group. And so whatever parameters then you apply to that repeating group, such as search for sales between a certain date or so on and so forth. And like you had said, something you'd be able to probably pick from a dropdown. Then that repeating group will populate with that data, and then you're able to download it right from there. So I have experience with that plugin, and it sounds like it would probably do what you need it to do.
I think we did that, didn't we, Nathan? I think a couple months ago we were on office hours and we used the repeating group to CSV, and I think we were running into some problems because of the size of the amount of data that you wanted to download.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a different use case. That does sound familiar, but then it's been 2 months ago, so therefore it's not really my responsibility to remember that. So,
Gotcha.
but it was a little bit different use case. I don't remember exactly what we were doing, but that is definitely sounding familiar. But what I don't remember is, so like if I'm building that repeating group, am I able to pull in data from multiple data tables then?
You should be able to combine your search, I believe. Let me go ahead and pull up the
Let's
CSV.
try it. Yeah, let's
exactly.
try it. You can take over screen sharing.
And I ask why you're setting that up because I ask because what my thought would be. Right now, I don't have things kind of an all-encompassing report that would give me all of this. I have sale information, but then within that sale, there's other linked data types that I'm trying to figure out how I would bring those both in. But I mean, I guess I can see if it was a repeating group. One of my follow-up questions would be, do I need to create a new data type just for the purposes of pulling report information together? But I'll watch and see if something clicks for me.
Let's see. We might change this data type to text instead, but let's go to. All right, we need two data types that are at least similar. So for items, at the very least, we have all of these guys here. So we can take this too. So let's take this back to text. I don't know if this is the right way you want to do it, but we want to merge it with, because we're just looking for the first item. Okay, we're gonna have to specify what item I guess we're looking for. So let's say name text. And we did jobs, and let's just do keyword. This should be a text. Cool. Put this in the repeating group. Let's say it's current sales text. This is going to be passing in just everything here, I guess. Let's just preview it to make sure that I'm right. Passing in all this data as like a list. Oh no, just okay. It takes everything and it splits it all. So at least a very simple sort of example is that it does look like we can combine them. Now we want this to be in the format of like a spreadsheet, right? So we have, let's see. So what we're doing right now, what we're telling this repeating group is that we're just going to take the name text from the items, and that we're also going to then take the job, the keywords from the jobs. So as it is right now, we have, at least, I guess, conceptually, we are able to combine some of these elements here.
What's connecting your items and jobs right now? Is there a field that connects those two?
Well, we specified that this group is going to be text. So we have done a merge, which, you know, is what does connect it. But there's nothing specifically that says what we're actually looking for. It's just pulling in the text of everything, which is what's being passed in. So all of this information is being passed in as a text currently. I'm trying to think. So Tanya, we want to pass in, I imagine, an X and like a Y, sort of like the amount and then the value of that amount, if that makes any sense. So we want to specify what we're.
So in my use case, so it's a,
yeah, break it down.
It's a camp sales portal. So I'm looking for a list of sales, and then each sale would have a camper, let's say, but it's just linking the camper. So then what I also need is the camper's first name and the camper's second or last name and maybe date of birth and things like that. And then the sale also has a session type, which would also have its own ID. So I'm listing a sale with a session type and a camper. So ideally what I'm trying to figure out is how do I get the sale information plus a little bit about the camper plus a little bit about the sale ID, which are three separate data types, but they're connected. You know, there's a connected with an identifier in there someplace.
So who is the front end user who's going to be downloading a CSV of this information?
Did you say who?
Yeah, who's the front?
This would be of a type admin. So this wouldn't be the this wouldn't be the mom and dad. This would
Right.
be the admin. But in our case, I'm the super admin, if you will. I have the bubble access, but then I have other staff members that work for the customer that would have some of this report writing, and then I have really the front end users, mom and dad, and the camper side. So this would be authorized front end users that have admin access, but not bubble access.
So
Okay.
to me, real quick, if we're going to be combining these data types, it sounds to me like like you had mentioned prior, we might want to actually create a new record of all of this with the linked information. So the sale would have the camper linked to it, and so on and so forth. So we are only calling one data type. In this case, we'd be calling a sale. And then being that we'd have the sale as the data type, we'd then be able to put the sales title, the sales camper, and every other piece of pertinent information there. That's the way that I envision it. And the only reason I say this with such confidence is because I'm building a form builder right now. It's like a job application, like screening thing, where we have to link the form, the question, the answer all together through their unique IDs. That's the way that I'm approaching it, and I've found success in that. So creating a new data type with all this information associated with it using the unique IDs might be the way that you'd want to go about it. Does that make sense?
It does. So I'm not actually, if I have in my sale, I'm linking a camper, and then I'm also linking a session, a type. Have I already done that? If I pull a report from the sale, could I also report the sales camper's first name?
Yeah, so the information that would be sent into, let's say, the sale as the overarching sort of data type here. Inside sale, you'd have a new record, say camper, and camper would equal the value of a camper record type.
Right.
So if you look into that record type, then inside that camper, you'd be able to then pull its information individually.
Right.
So
I think I have it set up that way. It is set up that way right now.
Is it okay?
So if sale is this repeating group is of type sale, then I should have access to sale, and then the camper, which is a part of the sale, and then the session type, which is also a part of the sale. Right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So that part makes sense. So I could build out the repeating group with that information. And then I guess maybe if you can help me think, refresh me from a few months ago, how the actual AirDev plugin works, because that sounds like that's where I'm going. And
Sure,
talking with Tanya just a little bit, I honestly thought I was like, how do I build an API that does this? And I was thinking Google Sheets, because I'm a Google guy, not Airtable. But I didn't know if that's the direction I need to go. But if there's a plugin, which I guess I completely forgot about, that would be great.
Yeah. So it's been a little bit since I've used this, but we're gonna try this out. So I have the repeating group, or the repeating group to CSV here. It's an invisible little element. So on button click, what we're going to do is we're going to specify that we want the repeating group's HTML ID. So I just set that as test1. We want that to then export. We're going to export it as just an export.csv. Number of rows, I guess it would be just however many items there are, I would assume. So let's go ahead and test this out. So we have quite a bit. It was like 15 to 20, I think. Okay, it can't read properties of undefined. Wonder what happens if we leave this blank. Does it just do what we need it to do? No.
Your repeating group HTML ID, that test1, is that?
Yeah,
that's what connects the plugin with that repeating group. Okay,
that's correct. I wonder. Get CSV. Maybe I'm calling it so. Do this one instead. Give me a second. Let's take a look at this plugin page and see if it has better information on how to set it up. Create a repeating group. set the repeating group to full list. Okay, set the HTML ID as enter the columns from left to right as text elements. Create a workflow action. Select repeating group text to CSV. Oops, it's right here. Okay, so we want this to be a full list. We have one column. Okay. And the number of rows. I guess really that would just be okay, full list there. Okay, so on my screen, it did just pull open. I don't know if you can see in the bottom tray here.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, perfect. So I don't know if Git is necessary or into the column, text box, create a workflow action from the plugin section, select repeating group text to CSV. It doesn't seem like the documentation's super specific about which one we actually need. It says get it, and we have both the get and the download. So if we remove the download, I think what ends up happening is it like basically instantiates the file. No, we can download it there too. Okay, well, with that having been established, it seems as though the setup is actually fairly simple. We do have to make sure that this is a full list. It looks like we're running into an issue where we didn't have a full list, and that's where the exception was being thrown. But then after that, we just have to ensure that we have this repeating group element somewhere on the page. We need a button. We can specify this is the download button. And then when we click the download button, all we're doing is we're saying to this element up here to look for all of the information inside this ID's attribute set as a full list, and then it downloads to the tray pretty simply. And
So
this, what's up?
Sorry, you would be able to hide that repeating group then. So you don't. So it's not writing to the page. So if we just wanted the export function and not actually to write it to the page, we would just create that and somehow not load it or make the dimension so that user couldn't see the long list.
Yeah, exactly. I think that might. Well, it's a full list though, so I'm not sure if it automatically expands or not. Doesn't look like it does. And in which case, we click the download button, and nothing happened. Okay. Let's add this download back, even though we just tested it and showed that it didn't change anything. Maybe it did. I guess it did. Interesting. Okay. Well, that's really weird how the workflow was just set up, because I just removed this and clicked the download, or just kept this and it still downloaded. But then when I tried it again, it didn't. So I guess I'm under the assumption here we need both the get CSV and the download CSV. But yes, if we don't want it to show up, set the dimensions to 1, 1, or that, hide it behind an element, so on and so forth. And then yes, we will just click this button and it will download into the tray down here.
Okay. So then you can use the normal tools to help with the search of that repeating group so you could build a repeating group by only values from the drop down list or from a checkbox or things like that. So I could control what is actually ends up in that repeating group.
Yeah, and so you'd have like a drop down here, and then when this drop down's value equals whatever you have set up, then you can change the data source.
Right.
That, and makes it pretty simple. So yeah, that's how I'd approach it.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, that seems easy.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
And the plugin is repeating group to CSV. Is that right?
I am using download CSV from repeating group. That's
download.
The Air Dev one. But heck yeah.
Got it.
Sweet. Yeah, just should be pretty straightforward. If you need anything else, though, definitely in general or message me and I'll be able to help you out.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Cool. Sweet. Who was next? Tanya, were you keeping track by any chance?
Yeah, Thomas and then Ben.
All right. Thomas, are you there?
He was on a phone call, so I'm not sure if he's back yet.
Gotcha. All right.
Probably not. Ben, do you have
Yeah,
any questions?
Ben.
I'm actually pretty good. Just
Pretty good?
still waking up.
Good morning. Let's see. Do I have any questions? I could ask you questions. Let's see.
Yeah. See what we can do.
I do have another question, Tanya, while
Yeah,
you're
for it.
thinking. So
Yeah.
in the new responsive engine, so I have videos. So I'm not using a video. I'm not using any plugin. I'm just using the video element. I haven't been successful in trying to figure out how to scale those video elements in the right aspect ratio. So like I'm using if it's YouTube, like 16:9, but I can't figure out how to start it at one size and scale it at the right aspect ratio as the screen sizes get smaller. Is there
off the top of my head, have you tried using percentages? Does that work or no?
Well, I tried to play around with it, but
because you can put it inside well, shoot, yeah, when you're dealing with aspect ratios, it gets a bit crazy, but you can put it in a container and then say that it's 100% width of that container. So if the container shifts, so does your video, but it stays at least relative to that container, the same dimensions.
So 16:9, let's just use numbers. So if it was 160 by 90, that's the size of the container that I would create. Of course, however big I needed to make it, but I would set the container dimensions in that right aspect ratio, and then just that video element would be 100% height and width.
We'll see if you keep it on 100% width and height, but then you change the width and the height still stays the same. That's when you run into those dimension issues. Because then the aspect ratio shifts.
So mainly the width is what's changing, when you go to smaller screens, but of course the height as well. But as the screen gets smaller, I'm not finding that as the screen gets cut in half, or that video element gets cut in half, it's also not shrinking the height accordingly. So it works. I can't figure out how to resize proportionately, because there's not on that video element, there's not an aspect ratio. I mean, unless I'm just wrong, that seems like that's just an image, an image, a field on just for the images. I don't see there's a space for aspect ratios, the 1:1 or 16:9, anything like that.
Yeah. The way that I would approach this from a web development aspect is probably setting the height to be auto. And I don't think that, and I do apologize. I know this question was geared for Tanya, and she has probably more experience in the new responsive design, but I'm not sure if there's an auto setting. And I know obviously here in the old design, there's not an auto setting. But in standard web development, at the very least, the way that we would approach this and solve this situation is by setting the width to be 100% and then the height to be auto. So while the width changes, the height does what it needs to do relative to that aspect ratio. And you can achieve that by setting an ID on your element here. So on this video, and then in your CSS, you would just say height equals auto. But again, not super knowledgeable about the responsive editor. Tanya, do you have anything to add to that?
Nope, I sure don't.
Okay. Yeah, then that's the way that I would approach it. So I'd set the style, and we've done this a couple times before where, let's see if we can do this here. So we'll call this video style type equals CSS text, and then oh my goodness, slash. Okay. And in theory, we need a video ID, don't we? Oh, look at this. Perfect.
Yeah, look at that. 300 subscribers. Woohoo.
Nice.
Thank you for everybody for watching us on YouTube.
Oh no, Tanya, what have you done? It's disabled. All right, we'll just move all of this
What
stuff
did I
out of the
do?
way. It looks like you have cross-site disabled.
Oh, I think I have to do that. Like, there's some setting in YouTube that I need to do.
I'm not super certain if the CSS is correct.
Ah, which video was that for? I'll
214,
have Kim
I
go
think.
in there. I'll send a message to Kim. Kim can go and fix that.
See, so if height's important, I'm not super certain if this is gonna work. It doesn't look like it. Okay, so let's put this inside a container, inside a group.
And now, as you're doing this,
Yeah.
I don't know the difference from this fixed format and the responsive format. Will what you're doing here translate over into the responsive engine as well, like the CSS and all of that stuff?
In fact,
I've never
think-
added CSS. I haven't done that part. So.
Oh, I got rid of the HTML. I actually think we'll probably find better success. Hold on real quick. Yeah, I think we'll actually find better success in the responsive design engine than we would in this. But yes, it should still, oh, it deleted the entire thing. It should still work. So we have the HTML, okay, repeating group. We don't need this. Here's the video. We were going to put this video inside a group. Style. I just want to make sure that I typed this in correctly. Sure looks like it. Oh, no, I forgot the commas. Okay, I mean the quotes. So we were going to call the group video. I wonder if this will work. Because as we saw, this was set to 100% height and width, at least inside the HTML. Let's refresh it and see what we can do. So height, does it look like it's been this is for, so video height auto. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm just trying to see if the style is actually applied. Somewhere inside this head tag. I guess it wouldn't be in the head tag. This isn't the body, isn't it? So we have the video here with height. There's also another thing that I do pretty often. If I'm not getting it able to, or if I'm not able to get it working inside with this HTML element, I go inside the actual code and I see what we can modify in here. Because this is applying directly to this group element. Now, it doesn't seem like the groups really, or the videos is inheriting what we want it to be. So now I'm going to go inside the video and I'm going to do the same thing where my height is going to equal 100%. I'm going to declare that it's important. I want it to override anything else that might possibly be there. Shoot, it does not look like it wants to. Oh, is that aggravating? Oh, because that was the box. Oh my goodness, it goes so deep. Height 100%. You know, I don't even know I'm changing the height. We can keep that the same. So it looks like the width has some effect on it, but not exactly what we want. Now, I do apologize again, because this isn't the responsive design engine, and I think we would truly have more, I guess, luck, I guess you could say, with the responsive instead of this. Let's get rid of that. Let's say that it's static. Does that change anything? The heck. And while I'm doing this, of course, if you have any other questions, because I'm running into this issue here. Set as 100%, 100 height.
Was that the last video you saw available on our channel?
I typed in YouTube, and then it was the first one that popped up right here. You get to see who I am looking at all my my recommended videos. Let's do this one just to see if it actually has any kind of influence or effect. And I don't think it would, but I think that was 212.
I don't think we broadcast 212 yet.
Well, you know, the simplest way to do this would truly be 210.
210.
Okay.
Okay. We're already on 210. That's cool.
Huh. Current width, so it's setting that this is maximum width is 100% height. Important. It is important. It's still not. Huh. Anybody have any recommendations? Because I truly, this should be working, you would think, right? Telling this guy to be at a height of one or a width of 100. Oh, dude. No, wait. What's going on? So this is crossed out. Height auto is important. So it is taking over. It is saying that's what we want. And I guess the last thing that we want to do is it is a static width, and that's not being adjusted. Let's just say it's 100%. Maybe one of the things that we needed to include. What is this? Group A. Let's get rid of that. That's the player.
While you're doing that, is there a video player plugin that has advantages of I don't need all of the controls. This is really just a simple YouTube video that I'm trying to play.
Sure.
Is there an advantage of having a plugin that does it rather than just the native the video feature straight from Bubble?
So your question is if it makes more sense to have a different video player?
Yeah. Is there a benefit to having a different video player for something simple like like this, quote unquote simple, I guess?
You know, I bet there is. But I mean, it's pretty cool. Bubble allows it. It's just, you know, it's native. You can plug in a video ID and it starts playing. But as I think what we're experiencing is that it's a little difficult to resize elements on the fly. And I am almost certain that there's other ones where we'd be able to do that. So if we go to video player, this one says that it's pretty cool. What does it say it does? Workflow to play next, like customize the colors. So all we're trying to do is make it dynamic, right? We're trying to just give it some range and its height and width. I've used HTML5 video player, and I've used this before, and I think I had more experience with it, or I should say more luck with it, rather. I know that
you can add it. This app's on an agency plan, so it should be fine.
Yeah, sure. Let's do this. HTML5 video player was probably, I'm trying to remember why I used it, because I know that I had to because it was better. So fit with the window width makes the width of the browser window. Oops. See, so oops. Nothing should be resized yet. We're just seeing if the link is working. Yeah, this dynamic link should be, what is going on? Huh, well, the source is here, so it should be working. What in the heck? All right. I'm still curious, though, if we have any more control. And we may just be cursed. I'm seeing, though, that's pretty interesting, is we've set the ID of this particular element to video, but it's actually in a parent element here. It's in this div here. And this has more control over this individual element. So I want this to be, okay, so the resize worked here. And if we say that the width is 50%, that does not resize it. Oh my goodness. We obviously don't want to inherit it. Well, shoot, I wish I had an answer for you immediately. This is exactly how I'd approach it in an HTML setting. Right. And it really is not wanting to cooperate with us. And being that we're not on the responsive design layout, it's also provides sort of like a gap in the way that I can answer your question.
Sure.
Tanya, is there any reason why we're not on the responsive for the sandbox?
I mean, you have to do it per page. You can convert it.
Oh, well, that goes to show you how silly I am. Okay.
I don't know if there's a way to automatically go on the responsive editor for every page of your app. I think you just have to do it one by one. Ben, Thomas, do you have any insight on that? I think it's all manual still.
It is all manual. Apparently, it's going to be all manual until it comes out of beta.
Yeah, when it comes out of beta, it'll probably be default to the new responsive. So something to keep in mind if you want to use a new responsive, like something on your page that's new responsive, you can always put it in a new responsive reusable and then put the reusable on the page. And the new responsive reusables are compatible with old responsive pages.
That's fancy. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
There.
And considering I highly recommend using reusables anyway.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Now tell us about backend workflows.
Oh, thank you. I love it when people invite me to talk about backend workflows.
Okay, this is aligned to the parent width percent. We'll say this is 100% of the body of the browser. Just put it right in the middle. So this is obviously really ugly. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Okay, I have more faith now in the way that this approach is going to go. Oh God, where's the video? Oh, and I realized we're not even using the right video thing. Okay. Well, there we go to some degree, as you can see, what ends up happening when we're in the responsive workflow. And this is using Bubble's regular video thing, not the HTML video that we just downloaded. So we've set it inside its parent group here. And we've set the parent group at this point just a width of 100%, but you could set it, I'm assuming, let's say like 700 pixels. And what we've set, so the parent is 700 pixels, but then the width is 100%. Does it actually? It doesn't. Okay, my apologies. We want to keep this, the group here, not as a fixed pixel amount, but rather a percentage. So as this percentage scales down, it's gonna be 75% of the overall browser width. And what we're saying is that the video inside is gonna be 100% of this parent container. In the grand scheme of things, you don't have to have it inside a container. You could just say that you want the width to be set as 75%. It's gonna look at the same thing that this parent group is looking at, which is just the width of the overall window. So as long as we have it in a percentage-based setting, it should go ahead and percentage-based look at it. Now, I know that we wanted to set the height to be auto. So this is actually where we go ahead inside the HTML, add some CSS, and then fingers crossed that this should work now. This is the player height auto. Is that the right element to add this to? Oh, geez, Louise, why? I mean, I could pop this into Webflow and really easily have it rescale by setting the attributes to auto, but it really isn't wanting to do that for Bubble for some reason. Because that's the main thing. It should automatically be able to look at the width and be like, oh yeah, this is what we want.
So when you do it by auto, it knows how does it know what the initial dimensions were, or like what the aspect ratio should be?
Let's see. So I think in the embed, I was under the assumption that we were able to select, or that there was a parameter here that specified the dimensions. Shoot. The way that it typically knows is it looks at the starting, the starting value, and then is able to go. Oh wow, shoot. Hold on, let's think. If it's at auto, wouldn't it? Huh. You know, to genuinely answer that question, I'm going to say magic. It just knows typically via magic. I really don't know like the technical breakdown of why or how it does that. I do know though that in my experience using the height of auto does typically remedy this exact issue that we're trying to solve.
So if you're, so you have right there, you just had your video set at a fixed height. If you didn't have your video at a fixed height, would
I think then it looks at the actual data, the actual video file and the dimensions that it was uploaded in. And so then it's able to look at, oh, it should be at this pixel amount. So if we're automatically scaling it proportionally, it should then affect the height of it. This is thumbnail overlay. This is the actual video. This is the player. Let's just say 75 pixels. So it changes the video. Yeah, I guess auto here is 0. It's saying that it's because it's not even showing up at that point. Shoot. Okay. I'm legitimately honestly stuck on this.
will you go back to the editor and will you unclick the fixed height on that for that?
Gotcha.
And see if that, well, even minimum height would, you know, even maybe 0. And
let's put it down to 300 here. Let's see if this fixes anything.
yeah, it's still stuck. Yeah, geez.
This is gonna keep me up at night. Geez. Minimum height of 300 and the maximum height, really not that important. We just say we don't want it below this. Make the fixed width, so it's no longer a fixed height. Yeah, so I guess it's referencing auto automatically is referencing 0s is what I'm understanding here as it disappears when we put auto on.
You have that video as in a group. Is that how you had it set up?
That's correct. Now, I guess there's another hacky way to do it. There's in CSS, there's this function called calculate. And so it's exactly what it looks like. What we're doing is we're calculating the width here. We're saying 10 pixels plus 100 pixels. And we're able to take percentages and then minus pixels from that as well. This probably isn't exactly what you're looking for. There should be a simpler way to do it, but this is the next solution that I can think of, where we just calculate then the width based on the height. Yeah, So I guess we can try this out. No reason not. And we'd actually want this to be adjusting the height. Actually, I do want inspect open. make sure this is applied to video. Oops, I'm gonna have to refresh it again. Well, we did something to it. Obviously, it's saying that, well, it's setting the height at 100% minus 80 pixels. And I believe that the height, or the 100% is referencing the group that it's in. Which doesn't change much for us, to be completely honest, because now what we want to do is we want to change the height of the group video here. So we'll call this group, and we'll say that we'll take the exact same thing.
So you really want to fix you really want to control the group and then have your height and width of the video be 100%, and just control the size of the parent container, right?
That's right. Yeah.
You should need to contain both. If you can control the dimensions on the parent, then the video should just fill it.
Yeah, and this code up here is redundant because I could specify that inside the editor, but
It seems crazy there's no aspect ratio on videos and groups.
oh, what's going on? Why isn't this working?
Yeah, it works perfect with images. That's a great addition, because then as long as you know your initial size, then you plug that in and it's done. But videos, I've struggled with it for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, geez. I mean, to me, this would make sense, right? So the video, the height's 100% of its parent, and then the parent, the height, we're calculating the height, and we're saying it's 100% of the browser window minus 10%. So we should be seeing the group height actively change. Did we set everything right? The group is group. There's group, yeah. I am looking for where it says ID equals group. I mean, it might make this a bit bigger. ID movie player, ID. This is the ID group, okay. Let's view it. Oh yeah, we did it. Okay, well, hey, took a while, but we did it. And that's because we were using percentages when we could be using the view width here. This is VW is a way to specify the viewport width. So what we're doing is we're taking 100% of the viewport width and we're subtracting, and we in fact, this calculation isn't probably even important. We could just say it is 90 of the view width. I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner. I use view width a lot for text, especially hero text. In the event that you want it to, of course, scale with the person's viewport or their device in this case. So what we've done is we've just set the parent group to be a certain view width. We want this height, or this width rather. Here, where did it just go? I just placed it somewhere. Yeah, so, okay. The height is specified as the view width. And you could also probably change this to view height as well. So in the event that you scrunch this page from top to bottom, it changes too. But it is as simple as this, and it only took ages to get here.
So what's controlling the width then?
Your dimensions here. It should be set. The width is set to a percentage base. So there will probably have to be some kind of tinkering to find the exact kind of dimensions that you're looking for, so it doesn't distort or anything of the sort. But yeah, so the parent group, we're specifying the width inside the parent group, and then the height inside this parent group is going to be dependent on the viewport width.
So the width is 75% of what?
Of the browser window. So if I was to, you can see it's really ugly now.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's looking at the overall browser, and it takes up 75% of the width of the window. Oh yeah. Okay, whew. We did it. Hopefully that helps answer your question. Sorry it took so long.
Yeah, it gives me something to play with now. I haven't gone down that path at all. So
yeah, and then if you need the CSS that we were using, it'd be some just 90 view width. And that's really it. Just one line right there.
okay, I've got it screenshotted. So thank you.
Hell yeah, sweet. Cool. Yeah, hopefully Bubble would, someday integrate that and make it a native feature. It makes sense, like you were saying with images, right? It does that with images.
Right.
But cool, okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Cameron. That was amazing.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. We're going to go ahead and wrap up office hours and move into our after hours section. After hours is when we turn off the recording and turn on the cameras and get real with each other for things that we can't broadcast to the rest of the world. The only way to be part of that is to become a member at ProNoCoders.com. So that's where you go, ProNoCoders.com, sign up for the office hours membership, and come on into our Zoom and hang out with us every day of the week, Monday through Friday, 6 times. So we'll see you soon.